to another Coach Dave Academy lap guide with myself, Kieran Harrison. We're back in the BMW M4 GT3 for week 9 of the IMSA iRacing series. This week we're at Circuit of the Americas. So without further ado, let's just get straight into it. So that was the full speed lap of Circuit of the Americas in BMW GT3. So I'm now on the replay. You can see I'm just at the start finish line, so I can run you through the lap. Just try my best to point out all the braking points and things. So heading down the start finish straight, we're just looking towards turn 1, which is, as you can see, very wide and it's a bit cresty at the top. In this session I was looking at this little dirt patch, braking maybe a car length after it. That's the best reference I could find. I'm not sure that that's consistent across all sessions, so be wary of that. But there is a white line and the blue cone up there that you could look at. There's not really a reference next to where you actually want to brake, so you just got to kind of judge it. But for reference, this is where I stop braking. This is what it looks like from the cockpit. Maybe 3-4 car lengths from the white line. And then, as you can see, just as we go over this white line, actually, we start to turn in, which is probably a bit earlier than you would expect for this sort of corner. The reason I'm doing it is because there's this crest on the outside, and you can see that it's sort of cambered inwards towards the inside. So if you go over the outside part there, the car doesn't turn back, basically, for the apex, as it goes a bit weightless over the crest. So you've got to turn in a bit earlier than you would like. And this has the added benefit of giving you a chance of seeing the apex as you're driving towards it. You can just see the edge of the curb on the line that I took, which certainly helps me to judge where I want to put the car. Otherwise, you want to try and really straighten off the exit, just really turning the car on the apex. I'm picking up the throttle now, but being quite patient with it. Till now, you can go full throttle. Just got to make sure that you're not going to lose grip as you push the throttle down, like lose traction. This right-hander after turn 1 is easily flat on new tyres, but just be careful on old tyres. But with the grip that I had here, we're trying to get back across the right-hand side a little bit before we go into this left. Just a little lift here. This was not necessarily needed, but it's just I turned in slightly too late, so I just did a little lift just to make sure I could get as close to this orange curb as possible, just because that helps open up the whole sequence. And then I'm braking gently down to 4th for this right, and then again I'm just using a little bit of throttle here to balance the car. I was having a couple of oversteer moments as I was changing direction, so just a little bit of throttle to balance it, and then braking again down to 3rd through this one, carrying a lot of speed. Stay in third, cut this a little bit, but not too much. Make sure you keep 2 wheels inside the white line. Just be wary of all these orange curves because they're absolute killers in this car. Letting the car wash out and then coming back for the second apex. The same thing here. Just keep 2 wheels inside the white line as I do, and then back on the power. And then again, staying in third through this whole section, just aiming for that orange curb. It doesn't really matter how far you let the car wash out here. If you cut back more, you would just have a better line through the next part, but you would lose time in this corner. I found that it works out about equal. But I'm trying to put myself in the middle of the road here as I brake down to second for this one, and then you kind of want to get on relatively early onto this curb, but don't let the car wash out, because then it seems to lose grip further out. I don't know if the camber goes off a little bit. You want to just try and hug this curb all the way around until you turn in late for this one, because then there's a nice compression. It just missed this orange curb. Nice compression through the apex, which helps you get some traction as you power out. So this whole section is like setting up the next part. That's what you're kind of thinking of the next corner every single time you're in a corner. And then coming down here to this hairpin, this is quite similar to turn 1, where it's got this really wide entry where you can't really see the apex when you're on the brakes, which makes it tricky. I'm looking at this white line, which is in line with a 100-meter board. 100-yard board, I don't know, it is an American track. Anyway, the white line, I'm just braking just before it, all the way down to first gear. Turning in quite late, because we're firing out onto the back straight, which is the main straight of this track. I just missed the apex here a little bit, but yeah, it wasn't too bad. But ideally you would be getting on this red and white curb, and then just try and get full throttle as soon as you can without running to all 4 wheels over this white line, because that's an off track. It is quite strict, and the track tightens down quite a lot on the exit, so it's quite easy to do in a few of the corners around this track. Then just stay to the right in this is the long straight, and then again it's another similar corner where it's a wide entry and a tight exit. We're looking for the 150 board and the white line. Really, I'm looking at the white line, I'm not looking at the board, but it's in line. Just as we go past it, I think it's just as the nose of the car crosses over it, I'm starting to brake. Again, all the way down to first, just widening the track as much as we can here, just about keeping 2 wheels inside the limit. And for this one, again, you want to turn in relatively late. Try not to hit this orange sausage curb, but it isn't that bad if you do. You just got to give it a split second before you get on the power, so the car can settle. But if you do it like this with a nice late apex, you can pick the power up quite hard. But I'm right on the limit here because it really tightens down on the exit. It's very easy to get an off track. Then quickly back across to the left. I don't really have a reference for this one. I guess it's just I go straight for the left, and just as I'm straightening the car up to the right, I'm starting to brake. It's roughly in line with where this red paint starts, but that would be hard to see from the driver's perspective. So you've just got to kind of look at the apex and get used to how far away you want to be. It's one of those tricky referenceless corners. I'd like to go down to first, but you can use second through here. Don't slow it down too much on the apex because you need to wash out wide so that you can then take a straighter line through the second apex without taking the off track. So you can see here I'm on the red and white line, but if you get over this, which is quite easy to do if you take the previous corner slower, it is an off track. And you can see if you pay attention to the throttle trace through this section, I'm having to be very careful the whole way through because you're turning quite hard. Like I'm only full throttle just as I get to this second apex, which is quite a long time after the initial corner. And then this is another really weird corner where I think I'm braking just as so I go past this first left apex, which isn't really necessary to hit. It's not really part of the corner yet, but just as we get past that, I start to turn left in towards the corner. That's when I brake. And then I'm just letting the car wash out roughly to the middle of the track, perhaps slightly further to the right. If you were defending in a race, for example, you can take it a lot tighter than this and get away with it. But this is just to help set up the exit. Again, like many of the corners in this track, this is completely blind as you're turning in. You can't see the apex, so you just got to get used to what the surroundings look like so you end up in the right place. So again, trying to get a straight exit, just about keeping it within the limits, and then moving back towards the left through this long right. There's a variety of lines you can take through here. On this occasion, I turn in quite early, getting onto the curb, and then hitting the first and second apex, and then letting it drift out for the third. The key is to not get too wide. You don't want to be much wider than I am here for this final apex, because I think the grip on the outside of the track really falls off and you'll just end up too wide to get back to the right for the following corner. So you see here, I don't use all of the track because it's more important to get back to the right for the following corner. And the way we do this here, if you could, in theory, you could run wider here and still get back, but then you'd be rushing and the car wouldn't be settled as you turn back to the left, and you would be slower through the following left. So here we've got plenty of time. Just after we cross this white line and we're pointing the car to the right, that's when we're hitting the brakes again. It's quite a gentle braking zone, just down one gear to third. Getting onto this orange sausage curb, it's very gentle by this track standards, and you can take it. So you definitely should, just to widen the corner so you can carry more speed. Again, just keep it within the white lines with two wheels. And just run it, straddle the white line up to this final corner. And then this escape road is a perfect reference for the final corner. You want to stop braking just as the front gets in line with that, down to second gear. And then turning in relatively early here, you just want to sit on this red and white apex curve, basically. I actually lose the rear a little bit through here, so there's a little bit of time that I could have found if I think it's just as I came off the brakes a bit too aggressively, so you can see I just dropped the brake just at the very end there, and it's just a subtle slide. You want to try and avoid that, but this corner is a bit off camber on the apex, so it's quite easy to do. But yeah, then you're just trying to get on the power as early as you can without losing the rear, and it's a very short run to the start finish, and there we are, back to the end of the lap. So there we have it. That was the complete lap guide for the BMW GT3 for the IMSA series when it visits Circuit of the Americas in week 9. The key with this track, I do find it to be quite a tricky track. Certainly through the S's, you've got those big orange sausage curb apexes, which they are killers. You've got to get right up to them without touching them. But I think the more important thing is you've just got to put in the laps just to try and get used to all the blind apexes and what it feels like when you position in the car correctly, so you can try and maximize the exit, because it is quite tricky to hit the apex when you can't see it. So I think that's the thing that I would say is the main thing with this track. But yeah, that's going to be it from me. So thanks for tuning in. Remember to check out the Coach Dave website and YouTube channel, Discord server, for all the lap guides and setups you may need. All the information relating to everything we do is going to be on those platforms, particularly Discord and the website. But yeah, that's it from me, so I will see you in the next one.